All right. So we were supposed to go to, or we were planning originally to go to Prince Edward Islands, PEI. We were headed that way, and we just really we couldn't find anything. Like, it sounds like a nice little place, I guess, but like nothing jumped out as like, hey, because we've seen some spectacular stuff, so we didn't really find anything. And but anyway,
plus they're having issues with the ferry.
Yeah, the ferry shut down, so the only way to get there is the causeway, which we were going to drive the causeway anyways, but apparently everybody's going to be driving the causeway, so it'll be a long time, a line to get onto the island, line to get back off. So we stopped to get gas, and in this little market, Lisa wanted some souvenirs before we left Nova Scotia, which I didn't realize, because there's a lot of Scottish stuff. Then all of a sudden you put it together, it's like, oh, Nova Scotia, New Scotland. So their little flag looks like the Scottish flag and everything like that. So, just figure things out. Never really thought about it, but
I finally found a travel mug.
she found a travel mug.
Coffee mug, not a water bottle. We've been here a week, and it's the first time I've found a travel coffee mug. And it's got the big Nova Scotia flag on it and everything.
Yeah. Hard to find, like gas stations, nothing. She was going to get
shops. We stopped at coffee shops and gift shops. And
they have a lot of coffee mugs, but nothing to. Apparently, you don't drive or drink coffee in Nova Scotia, or they don't. So.
Anyway, we
business idea. Open up. Oh, Stanley Cup. They don't even know. I mean, I haven't seen a Stanley Cup. Right. Holy crap! You could come up here. You could open up a Stanley store.
Start a trend.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'd be killing it. It'd be awesome. Buy some cool little lot on overlooking the ocean selling you Stanley Cups. You're like, oh, fresh maple syrup and Stanley Cups. So you'd be the only one. You'll be the only game in town. But anyway, so we stopped at this little market, and then we saw the stuff which we were I thought we were at the Bay of Fundy when we first came in Yarmouth, but apparently we're not. The Bay of Fundy is farther up the bay. Then there's another bay off the bay that is actually the Bay of Fundy. So they had all these cool signs and stuff. So we went over to a visitor center and talked to a lady, and she's like, "Oh yeah." So she's so we looked at all the cool stuff there, and so she's like, "Yeah, if you get on the shore at a couple places, she's like, that's where the record tides are. Like I think 52 feet or something like that is the record tide. So it all has to do with like the moon phase, time of the year, all this kind of stuff." Unless you're a flat earther, Ryan, I guess you could help us out on that. I don't know how flat earthers, what they do with tides. Maybe there's a wobble. Wobble baby, wobble baby. I don't know. However they figure it out.
The wobble baby.
I don't know. So,
but now we're here at Five Islands.
Five Islands, which is the bay, which is here and across the bay is the record low tide, so which is like 52 feet or something like that.
And when we arrived last night, it was low tide.
Almost.
It was. We were about an hour and a half away from actual low tide.
Yeah.
So we walked on the ocean floor,
which is right out here. Like you can just you can walk across the bay. Like you can walk. Mostly there are some deep spots. There are some spots that looks like shallow water. It gets deeper than you might think. And it's not bath water. It's kind of muddy, but yeah. So we saw it. It was great. We saw it. It was supposed to be like right now, so it's a little after 9. So the tide has just now started to come back in. So they were saying it should predicted to be 40 something, like 45, 46 feet or something like that for tide. Like you can see in this little rock back here. Like I stood at the high tide mark. Climbed up the rocks at the high tide mark, and Lisa was down at the low tide mark. Like you couldn't see her. Like she's so far away. It's like this little tiny person. Like so, it's literally like 40 feet up from the difference. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's kind of flat, so it's a huge expanse. But when you look at when you see the actual high tide to low tide, like on these rocks and stuff like that, it's amazing because it really is that deep. So we spent the night here, which it was great too because it was right at sunset, so we got a lot of sunset pictures. There's a geological site just around the corner over there, which they say is kind of like from the rift, the whole Pangea thing. Like this is they say there's places in Africa that match up geologically to these rocks. Again,
there are some unique markings or unique, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it looks like bow tie pasta noodles.
Yeah, but who knows?
Yeah. Again, again, like I don't get it, because if this is supposed to be Africa, like this is the northern part of North America, and it's inside, like so it would have had to come off, and then it's just like the Carolina water.
I was gonna say, but they also get their water from Carolina.
Which I still don't get. I don't know how they get that.
Somewhere. We need to get our map, our globe back out.
Yeah, we gotta figure out something.
But also last night it was pitch black when we got done here on the beach and everything. Walked back up to our camper and it was pitch black, so we went outside and looked at the stars and the constellations and tried to take some pictures with our camera, and we had to leave the help me, honey. We had to leave the aperture open for so long that
there was a shutter.
I mean, the shutter open for so long that you could see like the movement, the trace marks of the stars.
Yeah, she was using like one of her other lenses that does have a smaller aperture, so we were having to go up like 5 minutes. So at 5 minutes on bulb, it was like they were clear, but they were spinning. So so she got a better lens that had a larger aperture, and so we were able to do it in about 15 seconds or so. But it just zoomed. It didn't come out great. Like it's not. Don't have the equipment, time, or experience to do it well, but it was cool to mess around with it.
Yeah, but it was amazing to see how many stars you could see. I haven't seen that many stars in the sky since I was a little kid. I don't know why. I guess all the light pollution these days, but out here, like it was just so clear.
I think it's global warming.
It's global warming. Anyway, whatever
so you
it
can't
is.
see the stars anymore.
Whatever it is, like it was amazing last night. If you could just, you could see so many stars.
Like again, like so, it's so hard to see constellations because there's so many stars.
Yeah, if they got diluted, like the whole thing got
like
diluted.
we put the camera up the first time we got a picture of the stars, so we were about a minute aperture or a minute exposure, and we finally got some things, and the first thing that popped up was Cassiopeia, because it didn't have the rest of the Milky Way or nothing like that, but it did have Cassiopeia. I'm like, holy crap, like that's Cassiopeia. And then you looked like kind of where the camera was pointing, then you could see it like hidden amongst all this. It was just so difficult, like all the background star noise was so much. You could see the Big Dipper because it was low on the horizon, but you couldn't see Cassiopeia until you knew where it was. It was difficult, but I couldn't just pick it out at first, which I'm usually pretty good at it. So, but that was cool. And it was so dark. It was dark.
It was really dark.
No moonlight, which is great. It's great for viewing stars. But we got to the campsite, and then so we got there. We went down. We saw the bay. Well, I didn't pick up the Wi-Fi password, so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna ride the bike up, go back, which was kind of a ways away. And this is like a provincial park, like a state park. So it's big. So it's just a lot of loops, like loop A, B, C, D, all these kind of loops. And in the middle of the night, I'm riding my bike. I got this little I got a headlight on it, but it wasn't aimed right. And I take off, and I just got lost. I couldn't figure out where I'm going. I'm going up and down these hills and around these things and seeing people and stuff. And I finally asked this lady, I think she was from like Sweden or something like that, and she's like, oh yeah, you just go, like, she kind of told me how to get out. I'm like, all right. So I got out. I get to the camp host or the campsite store. She gives me the password, and I start coming back down. I'm lost again, and then my phone starts ringing. I'm like, oh. It must be my loving, caring wife who is wondering what's taking him so long. He must have fallen in a ditch or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I stop and I just stop to answer the phone, and there's like 2 deer just sitting there in this woods, and they're just looking at me because there are a lot of deer. They're very friendly. So I take my phone out and answer. I'm like, hey babe, and she's like, there's an alarm going off. I don't know what it is. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like,
we haven't had this RV very long, and so I couldn't tell where the noise was coming from. It just echoes, and you can't tell which thing it's coming from. So I was trying to call him. I thought, well, maybe if he would get back here, he could help me.
Right.
I just thought he was like chatting. You know, he's Mr. Chatty over there. So.
Yeah, I'm literally lost, trying not to get killed by a deer, and she's out there like, there's an alarm. I'm like, well, find it. I don't know what alarm's going on. So she didn't care. I'm like, if you get off the phone, I will go and I will find the alarm. I will find my way back, and then we can turn it off. So that was pretty. So now we're gonna head back to the States, I guess. Let's see. So we did, and we kind of didn't talk about when we went on the Blue Nose too, which was kind of the whole point. That was the whole reason we first came up here, was riding on that boat, which that was pretty cool. I think we did one, but I don't know if we recorded it or lost it. So we'll talk about that real quick too, I guess. So Lunenberg, really cool town.
Yeah, all the buildings are just pretty pastel colors, and it's just a very charming place.
You gotta speak up.
It's a very charming place, very, very cute, and we rode the Blue Nose too, which is, I think we did talk about this. It's a clipper ship. It won lots of races and stuff in its day. It never lost a race in its day, and it's the one that's featured on the back of the dime, the Canadian dime. It's still on the dime today.
No, I think it's off. They said, a couple of years ago they stopped it. There's a
okay, well,
period.
there's some circulating because I picked some up, but it's also on the license plate.
Yeah,
and everybody knows if you say you rode the ship, that they automatically know it's the Blue Nose too, or whatever.
Yeah.
So we rode that, and the crew was awesome. They're young people that they just sign up for like this kind of like an internship, and they spend like 6 months on this boat, and they get there, and most of them really don't know anything about sailing. They learn it all on the boat, and they just work like clockwork. Like they're so organized, and they don't even hardly talk. You can barely hear anything. It's so quiet on there, and they're just doing their thing. Like it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, it's old school sailing, like Pirates of the Caribbean kind of stuff, like, because it's like these big rings that go around the mast, like they are literally made out of wood. Everything is just the original Blue Nose kind of got, I guess, something had rotted, or they had to rebuild it, so they rebuilt it.
And some of the people that were on the original helped rebuild the new one.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
yeah, really cool ship. Like when you're under sail, that was cool. Like when you're under sail, they do have a diesel engine on it on this one that wasn't on the original. But so when you're under sail, it's cool. Those big sails up there, and we didn't have a whole lot of wind, but enough. You could definitely tell, like, you know, when it started listing with the wind and everything. So that was pretty cool. And but it was a neat experience, living, learning boat, I guess, for all the crew and stuff. So that was good. They were more worried about sailing than they were like talking, like giving tours and explaining anything. So some would come up and talk to you a little bit, but mostly you could just tell they were young kids that just like were learning. And some of them, I guess, go on to do other things with the boats, and some of them just do it like as a summer job in school, during school and stuff. So.
But they literally live on the boat. They stay on the boat the entire time. So. I think the coolest part for me was watching them take the sails down when they were like folding them.
Oh yeah.
Because like there was like 6 or 7 of them like lined up folding this. Did we get any video or pictures of that?
I don't think none of the folding.
It was really neat. I mean, just hearing it and seeing it, like it was just.
They use hand and arm signals, so they don't talk a whole lot. So I guess if we were in a storm, so they use these hand and arm signals, so that they all go, and they're in time, but they're not like chanting or anything like that. So there's no like cadence, but they all just. So it was cool. It was pretty cool.
Then what else? We rode our bikes all around Lunenberg. We checked out this academy that was up on a hill. It had been
yeah, some of the music academy or something. Yeah. Just it looked like a big giant mansion up there. Yeah. We saw it when we first got in there, so we ended up just riding up the hill to go see it, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it's just kids, I guess, going to a music studio kind of thing, academy thing, but it was a real gorgeous building. The whole town is like, it looks like it would be a tourist town, but it's not. It's literally like how people live there most of the time, like with all the paint, the colors of the houses and all this kind of stuff. The boats are all high. I guess because of the snow, like everything turns white. You want to be able to find your stuff in the winter or something. But like the colors are just cool of everything. And we stayed at this little bar right out. They did the Harvest Ho, stayed at the bar.
Brewery. It's a light shoot brewery, so they had all their own brews.
Yeah. It was cool staying in the parking lot right there, right on the bay. Like we stayed right on the bay. Like look, you saw all the boats out there, and then we saw all the
beautiful sunrise in the morning on the water.
Yeah, you could see right across like the I guess the bay walk or whatever, the river walk or whatever it was. Where that's where all the like the fudge. We really didn't have a lot of fun. There was one candy shop, but it was mostly like food and beer. So, but it was fun. It was good.
A lot of little antique shops.
So we stopped and we stopped when we first got there. We rode up there and we talked to these guys. That, there's this other boat. It's another living learning boat. It's old. It's not
a little different.
Yeah, a little bit different. But it's another type of living. Like so you do the same thing. You apply for it and you spend like 6 months to a year and you travel. Like you don't stay in the bay here. Like you go. It goes all over the world. So you pick up. They pick up crew members. And they teach them everything, and then you travel around all over the world. You go down to like Africa and Italy, Europe, and all like so it goes all over the place. But so they were talking about they were talking to us about that.
They were trying to recruit our boys.
Yeah, no, you know anybody that's 18 to 20 years old, they should put in for this. It's a cool thing. But they were like just these like local guys that had been there. So we asked them again, like, hey, so where do you eat? And they're like, hey, well, if you don't want to get ripped off, then you need to go to Two Families.
Two Families.
And so we went to, so we found this, they said it's just good food. So we went down there.
And we had, we tried so we've seen on the menu poutine. We've seen that on several menus, but we've really not known what that was. So
yeah, I think I've seen it in Wisconsin, maybe. But or somewhere, poutine.
But it was like French fries with like a sauce on top.
Gravy.
Gravy on top. And then,
sauce.
And then cheese curds. Cheese curds on top of that.
So, yeah.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as the...
it's a heavy comfort
what's that other
food
thing
kind
we
of
had,
thing.
that other comfort food we had?
The rappy pie.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as the rappy pie.
No, it wasn't as good as
I
rappy
loved
pie.
the rappy pie.
Yeah. Rappy pie was great.
But it was good. It was interesting.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that's it. We're gonna a little bit of drizzle out here. It's kind of funny. Like we're like this beach is like, I mean, it's huge. It's massive. And there's like nobody around. But you saw that guy people see us doing this, and they're like, oh. They like walk around and like, oh, I'm just gonna wander right over here. It's like really like there's miles of crap to see, and like whatever is like back here, there's nothing there.
Curious.
Just curious. Yeah, photobombing us.
Photobomb.
Yeah. But, all right, so we're gonna go. Crapper's not full, but I'm gonna go dump the holding tanks because that's you don't want to carry it around. I don't want to be like Eddie, I'm taking care of dumping in somebody's yard. So we're a spot. There's a dump station, so go dump the tanks, and then we'll head on off to the United States.